History and nature. The Red Sea. This article is about the body of water between Asia and Africa. For other uses, see Red Sea, disambiguation. Red Sea. Red Sea coast at Egyptian resort Makati Bay. Location North Africa, East Africa, and West Asia. Coordinates 22 degrees north 38 degrees east. Type C. Primary inflows Barka River, Hadaz River, and Siba River, Wadi Ghasis. Primary outflows Bab el Mandeb. Basin countries Djibouti, Egypt, Eritrea, Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Yemen, Somalia, Israel, and Jordan. Max length 2,250 kilometers, 1,400 miles. Max width 355 kilometers, 221 miles. Surface area 438,000 square kilometers, 169,000 square miles. Average depth 490 meters, 1,610 feet. Max depth 3,040 meters, 9,970 feet. Water volume 233,000 cubic kilometers, 56,000 cu-mi. This article contains special characters. Without proper rendering support, you may see question marks, boxes, or other symbols. The Red Sea, Arabic, Romanized, Modern, Al-Bahr al-Ahmar, Medieval, Bahr al-Kulzum, Hebrew, Romanized, Yam Suf or Hebrew, Romanized, Hayam H with Makronem, Coptic, Fayam Inha or Fayam Sari, Tigrinya, Kayabari, Somali, Bada Kas, Afar. Kazabad is a seawater inlet of the Indian Ocean, lying between Africa and Asia. Its connection to the ocean is in the south, through the Bab el Mandeb Strait and the Gulf of Aden. To its north lie the Sinai Peninsula, the Gulf of Aqaba, and the Gulf of Suez, leading to the Suez Canal. It is underlain by the Red Sea Rift, which is part of the Great Rift Valley. The Red Sea has a surface area of roughly 438,000 square kilometers, 169,000 square miles, is about 2,250 kilometers, 1,400 miles long, and, at its widest point, 355 kilometers, 221 miles wide. It has an average depth of 490 meters, 1,610 feet, and in the central Suakin Trough it reaches its maximum depth of 3,040 meters, 9,970 feet. Approximately 40% of the Red Sea is quite shallow, less than 100 meters, 330 feet deep, and about 25% is less than 50 meters, 164 feet deep. The extensive shallow shelves are noted for their marine life and corals. More than 1,000 invertebrate species and 200 types of soft and hard coral live in the sea. The Red Sea is the world's northernmost tropical sea, and has been designated a Global 200 ecoregion. Extent. The International Hydrographic Organization defines the limits of the Red Sea as follows. On the north, the southern limits of the Gulfs of Suez, a line running from Ras Muhammad, 27 degrees 43 minutes north, to the south point of Shadwan Island, 34 degrees 2 minutes east, and thence westward on a parallel, 27 degrees 27 minutes north, to the coast of Africa, and Aqaba, a line running from Ras Al Phazma southwesterly to Requin Island, 27 degrees 57 minutes north 34 degrees 36 minutes east, through Tiran Island to the southwest point thereof and thence westward on a parallel, 27 degrees 54 minutes north, to the coast of the Sinai Peninsula. On the south, a line joining Huzn Murad, 12 degrees 40 minutes north 43 degrees 30 minutes east, and Ras Sian, 12 degrees 29 minutes north 43 degrees 20 minutes east. Exclusive Economic Zone. Exclusive economic zones in Red Sea. Number country area, KM2, 1 Saudi Arabia 186,392, 2 Sudan 92,513, 3 Egypt 91,279, 4 Eritrea 78,383, 5 Yemen 35,861, 6 Djibouti 7,037. Total Red Sea 491,465. Note, Hala-Ibe Triangle disputed between Sudan and Egypt and calculated for both. Names. Tihama on the Red Sea near Kauka, Yemen. Red Sea is a direct translation of the ancient Greek erythrithalassa, rho upsilon theta rho theta lambda alpha sigma sigma alpha. The sea itself was once referred to as the Erythraean Sea by Europeans, as well as Mare Rubrum in Latin, alternatively Sinus Arabicus, literally Arabian Gulf. The Romans called it Pontus Herculis, Sea of Hercules. Other designations include the Arabic, Romanized, Al-Bahr al-Ahmar, alternatively Bahr al-Kulzum, literally the Sea of Clysma, the Coptic Fayamsari, Syriac Yam Sumaka, Somali Bata Kas and Tigrinya Kei Biawith Makronar. The name of the sea may signify the seasonal blooms of the red-colored Trichodesmium erythraeum near the water's surface. A theory favored by some modern scholars is that the name red is referring to the direction south, just as the Black Sea's name may refer to north. The basis of this theory is that some Asiatic languages used color words to refer to the cardinal directions. Herodotus on one occasion uses Red Sea and Southern Sea interchangeably. The name in Hebrew Yam Suf, Hebrew, lit. Sea of Reeds, is of biblical origin. The name in Coptic, Fayam Inha, Sea of Ha, is connected to ancient Egyptian root which refers to water and sea, for example the names of the Ogdoad gods He and Hohe. Historically, it was also known to Western geographers as Mare Mecca, Sea of Mecca, and Sinus Arabicus, Gulf of Arabia. Some ancient geographers called the Red Sea the Arabian Gulf or Gulf of Arabia. The association of the Red Sea with the biblical account of the Israelites crossing the Red Sea is ancient, and was made explicit in the Septuagint translation of the Book of Exodus from Hebrew to Koine Greek in approximately the 3rd century BC. In that version, the Yam Suf, Hebrew, lit. Sea of Reeds, is translated as Erythrithalassa, Red Sea. The Red Sea is one of 4 seas named in English after common color terms, the others being the Black Sea, the White Sea and the Yellow Sea. The direct rendition of the Greek Erythrithalassa in Latin as Mare Erythraeum refers to the northwestern part of the Indian Ocean, and also to a region on Mars. History. Ancient era. Ancient Egyptian expedition to the land of Punt on the Red Sea coast during the reign of Queen Hatshepsut. The earliest known exploration of the Red Sea was conducted by ancient Egyptians, as they attempted to establish commercial routes to Punt. One such expedition took place around 2500 BC, and another around 1500 BC, by Hatshepsut. Both involved long voyages down the Red Sea. The biblical book of Exodus tells the account of the Israelites crossing of a body of water, which the Hebrew text calls Yam Suf, Hebrew. Yam Suf was traditionally identified as the Red Sea. Rabbi Saadia Jayan, 882-942, in his Judeo-Arabic translation of the Pentateuch, identifies the crossing place of the Red Sea as Bahr al-Kulzum, meaning the Gulf of Suez. Settlements and commercial centers in the vicinity of the Red Sea involved in the spice trade, as described in the Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. In the 6th century BC, Darius the Great, who was a prominent ruler of the Achaemenid Empire in Persia, undertook significant efforts to improve and extend navigation in the Red Sea. He sent reconnaissance missions to explore the Red Sea area and to identify its various navigational hazards, such as rocks and currents. This effort was significant, as it contributed to safer and more efficient navigation routes. In addition to the maritime explorations, during the reign of Darius the Great, a canal was constructed linking the Nile River to the northern end of the Red Sea at Suez. This canal is sometimes referred to as the ancient Suez Canal. It played a pivotal role in improving trade and communication between the Nile Valley and the Red Sea, and beyond to the Indian Ocean. This canal was a predecessor to the modern Suez Canal, which was constructed in the 19th century and continues to be one of the world's most important waterways. The construction of the canal during Darius's reign is evidenced by ancient records, including inscriptions. Darius commemorated the completion of the canal by creating stelae, stone monuments, with inscriptions in several languages, describing the construction and its benefits. The canal not only facilitated trade but also solidified Darius's control over Egypt and enhanced the Achaemenid Empire's economic and political power in the region. In the late 4th century BC, Alexander the Great sent Greek naval expeditions down the Red Sea to the Indian Ocean. Greek navigators continued to explore and compile data on the Red Sea. Agatharchides collected information about the sea in the 2nd century BC. The Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, Periplus of the Red Sea, a Greek periplus written by an unknown author around the 1st century, contains a detailed description of the Red Sea's ports and sea routes. The Periplus also describes how Hippolytus first discovered the direct route from the Red Sea to India. The Red Sea was favored for Roman trade with India starting with the reign of Augustus, when the Roman Empire gained control over the Mediterranean, Egypt, and the northern Red Sea. The route had been used by previous states but grew in the volume of traffic under the Romans. From Indian ports, goods from China were introduced to the Roman world. Contact between Rome and China depended on the Red Sea, but the route was broken by the Aksumite Empire around the 3rd century AD. Middle Ages and Modern Era. During the Middle Ages, the Red Sea was an important part of the spice trade route. In 1183, Rainald of Chatillon launched a raid down the Red Sea to attack the Muslim pilgrim convoys to Mecca. The possibility that Rainald's fleet might sack the holy cities of Mecca and Medina caused fury throughout the Muslim world. However, it appears that Rainald's target were the lightly armed Muslim pilgrim convoys rather than the well-guarded cities of Mecca and Medina, and the belief in the Muslim world that Rainald was seeking to sack the holy cities was due to the proximity of those cities to the areas that Rainald raided. In 1513, trying to secure that channel to Portugal, Afonso de Albuquerque laid siege to Aden but was forced to retreat. They cruised the Red Sea inside the Bab al-Mandab, as the first fleet from Europe in modern times to have sailed these waters. Later in 1524 the city was delivered to Governor Heitor de Silveira as an agreement for protection from the Ottomans. In 1798, France ordered General Napoleon to invade Egypt and take control of the Red Sea. Although he failed in his mission, the engineer Jean-Baptiste Lepere, who took part in it, revitalized the plan for a canal which had been envisaged during the reign of the pharaohs. Several canals were built in ancient times from the Nile to the Red Sea along or near the line of the present Sweet-Water Canal, but none lasted for long. The Suez Canal was opened in November 1869. During the first half of the 20th century, the Red Sea slave trade attracted substantial international condemnation. After the Second World War, the Americans and Soviets exerted their influence whilst the volume of oil tanker traffic intensified. However, the Six-Day War culminated in the closure of the Suez Canal from 1967 to 1975. Today, in spite of patrols by the major maritime fleets in the waters of the Red Sea, the Suez Canal has never recovered its supremacy over the Cape Route, which is believed to be less vulnerable to piracy. Citation needed. Oceanography. Annotated view of the Nile and Red Sea, with a dust storm. 016. This video over the southeastern Mediterranean Sea and down the coastline of the Red Sea was taken by the crew of Expedition 29 on board the International Space Station. The Red Sea is between arid land, desert and semi-desert. Reef systems are better developed along the Red Sea mainly because of its greater depths and an efficient water circulation pattern. The Red Sea water mass exchanges its water with the Arabian Sea, Indian Ocean via the Gulf of Aden. These physical factors reduce the effect of high salinity caused by evaporation in the north and relatively hot water in the south. The climate of the Red Sea is the result of two monsoon seasons, a northeasterly monsoon and a southwesterly monsoon. Monsoon winds occur because of differential heating between the land and the sea. Very high surface temperatures and high salinities make this one of the warmest and saltiest bodies of seawater in the world. The average surface water temperature of the Red Sea during the summer is about 26 degrees Celsius 79 degrees Fahrenheit in the north and 30 degrees Celsius 86 degrees Fahrenheit in the south, with only about 2 degrees Celsius 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit variation during the winter months. The overall average water temperature is 22 degrees Celsius 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Temperature and visibility remain good to around 200 meters, 660 feet. The sea is known for its strong winds and unpredictable local currents. Citation needed. The rainfall over the Red Sea and its coasts is extremely low, averaging 60 millimeters, 2.36 in, per year. The rain is mostly short showers, often with thunderstorms and occasionally with dust storms. The scarcity of rainfall and no major source of fresh water to the Red Sea result in excess evaporation as high as 2,050 millimeters, 81 in, per year and high salinity with minimal seasonal variation. A recent, underwater expedition to the Red Sea offshore from Sudan and Eritrea, verification needed, found surface water temperatures 28 degrees Celsius 82 degrees Fahrenheit in winter and up to 34 degrees Celsius 93 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer, but despite that extreme heat, the coral was healthy with much fish life with very little sign of coral bleaching, with only 9% infected by Thalassomonas luyana, the white plague agent. Favia favis coral there harbors a virus, BA3, which kills T. luyana. Scientists are investigating the unique properties of these coral and their commensal algae to see if they can be used to salvage bleached coral elsewhere. Salinity. The Red Sea is one of the saltiest bodies of water in the world, owing to high evaporation and low precipitation. No significant rivers or streams drain into the sea, and its southern connection to the Gulf of Aden, an arm of the Indian Ocean, is narrow. Its salinity ranges from between 36 per thousand in the southern part and 41 per thousand in the northern part around the Gulf of Suez, with an average of 40 per thousand. Average salinity for the world's seawater is 35 per thousand on the practical salinity scale, or PSU, that translates to 3.5% of actual dissolved salts. Tidal range. In general, tide ranges between 0.6 meters, 2.0 feet in the north, near the mouth of the Gulf of Suez and 0.9 meters, 3.0 feet, in the south near the Gulf of Aden, but it fluctuates between 0.20 meters, 0.66 feet, and 0.30 meters, 0.98 feet, away from the nodal point. The central Red Sea, Jeddah area, is therefore almost tideless, and as such the annual water level changes are more significant. Because of the small tidal range, the water during high tide inundates the coastal sabkhas as a thin sheet of water up to a few hundred meters, rather than flooding the sabkhas through a network of channels. However, south of Jeddah in the Shoyaba area, the water from the lagoon may cover the adjoining sabkhas as far as 3 kilometers, 2 miles, whereas north of Jeddah in the Al-Qarar area the sabkhas are covered by a thin sheet of water as far as 2 kilometers, 1.2 miles. The prevailing north and northeast winds influence the movement of water in the coastal inlets to the adjacent sabkhas, especially during storms. Winter mean sea level is 0.5 meters, 1.6 feet higher than in summer. Tidal velocities passing through constrictions caused by reefs, sandbars and low islands commonly exceed 1 to 2 meters per second, 3 to 7 feet per second. Coral reefs in the Red Sea are near Egypt, Eritrea, Israel, Saudi Arabia, and Sudan. Citation needed. Current. Detailed information regarding current data is lacking, partially because the currents are weak and both spatially and temporally variable. The variation of temporal and spatial currents is as low as 0.5 m, 1.6 feet, clarification needed, and are governed all by wind. During the summer, northwesterly winds drive surface water south for about 4 months at a velocity of 15 to 20 cm/s, 6 to 8 in/s, whereas in winter the flow is reversed, resulting in the inflow of water from the Gulf of Aden into the Red Sea. The net value of the latter predominates, resulting in an overall drift to the north end of the Red Sea. Generally, the velocity of the tidal current is 50 to 60 cm/s, 20 to 24 in/s, with a maximum of 1 meter per second, 3.3 feet per second, at the mouth of the Al-Qarar Lagoon. However, the range of the north-northeast current along the Saudi coast is 8 to 29 cm/s, 3 to 11 in/s. Citation needed. Wind regime. The north part of the Red Sea is dominated by persistent northwest winds, with speeds ranging between 7 km per hour, 4.3 miles per hour, and 12 km per hour, 7.5 miles per hour. The rest of the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden are subjected to regular and seasonally reversible winds. The wind regime is characterized by seasonal and regional variations in speed and direction, with average speed generally increasing northward. Wind is the driving force in the Red Sea to transport material as suspension or as bedload. Wind-induced currents play an important role in the Red Sea in resuspending bottom sediments and transferring materials from sites of dumping to sites of burial in quiescent environment of deposition. Wind-generated current measurement is therefore important in order to determine the sediment dispersal pattern and its role in the erosion and accretion of the coastal rock exposure and the submerged coral beds. Geology. Dust storm over the Red Sea. The Red Sea was formed by the Arabian Peninsula being split from the Horn of Africa by movement of the Red Sea Rift. This split started in the Eocene and accelerated during the Oligocene. The sea is still widening. In 2005, following a 3-week period of tectonic activity, it had grown by 8 m, and it is considered that it will become an ocean in time, as proposed in the model of John Tozo Wilson. In 1949, a deep water survey reported anomalously hot brines in the central portion of the Red Sea. Later work in the 1960s confirmed the presence of hot, 60 degrees Celsius 140 degrees Fahrenheit, saline brines and associated metalliferous muds. The hot solutions were emanating from an active subsea floor rift. Lake Assal in Djibouti is eligible as an experimental site to study the evolution of the deep hot brines of the Red Sea. By observing the strontium isotope composition of the Red Sea brines, it is possible to deduce how these salt waters found at the bottom of the Red Sea could have evolved in a similar way to Lake Assal, which ideally represents their compositional extreme. The high salinity of the waters was not hospitable to living organisms. Failed verification. Sometime during the Tertiary period, the Bab el-Mandeb closed and the Red Sea evaporated to an empty hot dry salt-floored sink. Effects causing this would have been a race between the Red Sea widening and Perim Island erupting, filling the Bab el-Mandeb with lava. The lowering of world sea level during the ice ages because of much water being locked up in the ice caps. A number of volcanic islands rise from the center of the sea. Most are dormant. However, in 2007, Jabal al-Tair Island in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait erupted violently. 2 new islands were formed in 2011 and 2013 in the Zubair Archipelago, a small chain of islands owned by Yemen. The first island, Sholan Island, emerged in an eruption in December 2011, the second island, Jadid, emerged in September 2013. Oil and gas. Undiscovered oil reserves in the region have been estimated at 5,041 mmbo. Undiscovered gas reserves in the region have been estimated at 112,349 bcfg. undiscovered natural gas reserves have been estimated at 3,077 mmBNGL. Most of these plays are controlled by the structure of the basin. Normal faults are common as the Red Sea occupies an active diverging margin. These targets are commonly found below the salt deposits of the Middle Miocene. Modern development is focused on the following fields. The Derwara 2 field was discovered in 1963, while the Swakan 1 field and the Bashir 1A field were discovered in 1976, on the Egyptian side of the Red Sea. The Barkan field was discovered in 1969, and the Midian field in 1992, both within the Midian Basin on the Saudi Arabian side of the Red Sea. The 20 m thick Middle Miocene Macna Formation is an oil source rock in the basin. Oil seeps occur near the Farasin Islands, the Dahlak Archipelago, along the coast of Eritrea, and in the southeastern Red Sea along the coasts of Saudi Arabia and Yemen. Mineral resources. Red Sea coast in Taba, Egypt. In terms of mineral resources, the major constituents of the Red Sea sediments are as follows. Biogenic constituents: nanofossils, foraminifera, pteropods, siliceous fossils. Volcanogenic constituents: tuffets, volcanic ash, montmorillonite, cristobalite, zeolites. Terrigenous constituents: quartz, feldspars, rock fragments, mica, heavy minerals, clay minerals. Authigenic minerals: sulfide minerals, aragonite, calcite, protodolomite, dolomite, quartz, chalcedony. Evaporite minerals: magnesite, gypsum, anhydrite, halite, polyhalite. Brine precipitate: montmorillonite, goethite, hematite, siderite, rhodochrosite, pyrite, sphalerite, anhydrite. Ecosystem: hawksbill sea turtle in the Elphinstone Reef. Nudibranch egg ribbon at Shab Mahmud. The Red Sea is a rich and diverse ecosystem. More than 1,200 species of fish have been recorded in the Red Sea, and around 10% of these are found nowhere else. This also includes 42 species of deepwater fish. Red Sea coral and marine fish. The rich diversity is in part due to the 2,000 kilometers, 1,240 miles, of coral reef extending along its coastline. These fringing reefs are 5,000 to 7,000 years old and are largely formed of Stoniacropra and Porites corals. The reefs form platforms and sometimes lagoons along the coast, and occasional other features such as cylinders, such as the Blue Hole, Red Sea, at Dahab. These coastal reefs are also visited by pelagic species of Red Sea fish, including some of the 44 species of shark. Other marine habitats include sea grass beds, salt pans, mangrove and salt marsh. It contains 175 species of nudibranch, many of which are only found in the Red Sea. The Red Sea also contains many offshore reefs, including several true atolls. Many of the unusual offshore reef formations defy classic, i.e., Darwinian, coral reef classification schemes, and are generally attributed to the high levels of tectonic activity that characterize the area. The special biodiversity of the area is recognized by the Egyptian government, who set up the Ras Mohammed National Park in 1983. The rules and regulations governing this area protect local marine life, which has become a major draw for diving enthusiasts. Divers and snorkelers should be aware that although most Red Sea species are innocuous, a few are hazardous to humans. Page needed. The UN is working to mitigate the threat from the FSO Safer, a derelict oil tanker off the coast of Yemen that could possibly cause an enormous ecological disaster in the Red Sea. The brine pools Red Sea have been extensively studied in terms of their microbial life. The Red Sea brine pool microbiology is characterized by its diversity and adaptation to extreme environments. Desalination plants. There is extensive demand for desalinated water to meet the needs of the population and the industries along the Red Sea. There are at least 18 desalination plants along the Red Sea coast of Saudi Arabia which discharge warm brine and treatment chemicals, chlorine and antiscalants, that bleach and kill corals and cause diseases in the fish. This is only localized, but it may intensify with time and profoundly impact the fishing industry. Trade. The Red Sea serves an important role in the global economy, with cargo vessels traveling between the Indian Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea every year, thus shortening the path between Asia and Europe almost by half, as compared to traveling around Africa via the Atlantic Ocean. Tourism. Hotels in Eilat, Israel. The sea is known for its recreational diving sites, such as Ras Mohammed, SS Thistlegorm, Shipwreck, Elphinstone Reef, The Brothers, Deadless Reef, St. John's Reef, Rocky Island in Egypt, and less-known sites in Sudan such as Sengeneb, Abington, Engarosh, and Shabrumi. The Red Sea became a popular destination for diving after the expeditions of Hans Haas in the 1950s, and later by Jacques-Yves Cousteau. Popular tourist resorts include El Gouna, Hurghada, Safaga, Marsa Alam, on the west shore of the Red Sea, and Sharm el-Sheikh, Dahab, and Taba on the Egyptian side of Sinai, as well as Aqaba in Jordan and Eilat in Israel in an area known as the Red Sea Riviera. The popular tourist beach of Sharm el-Sheikh was closed to all swimming in December 2010 due to several serious shark attacks, including a fatality. As of December 2010, scientists are investigating the attacks and have identified, but not verified, several possible causes, including overfishing, which causes large sharks to hunt closer to shore, tourist boat operators who chum offshore for shark photo opportunities, and reports of ships throwing dead livestock overboard. The sea's narrowness, significant depth, and sharp drop-offs all combine to form a geography where large deep-water sharks can roam in hundreds of meters of water, yet be within 100 meters of swimming areas. The Red Sea Project is building highest quality accommodation and a wide range of facilities on the coastline in Saudi Arabia. This will allow people to visit the coastline of the Red Sea by the end of 2022 but will be fully finished by 2030. See also, 2016 Hurghada attack, 2017 Hurghada attack, 2006 Dahab bombings, 2005 Sharm el-Sheikh bombings, 2004 Sinai bombings, and Metrojet Flight 9268. Tourism to the region has been threatened by occasional terrorist attacks, and by incidents related to food safety standards. Security. The Red Sea is part of the sea roads between Europe, the Persian Gulf, and East Asia, and as such has heavy shipping traffic. Government-related bodies with responsibility to police the Red Sea area include the Port Said Port Authority, Suez Canal Authority, and Red Sea Ports Authority of Egypt, Jordan Maritime Authority, Israel Port Authority, Saudi Ports Authority, and Sea Ports Corporation of Sudan. Bordering countries. A four-color map of the Red Sea and its bordering countries. The Red Sea may be geographically divided into three sections: the Red Sea proper, and in the north, the Gulf of Aqaba and the Gulf of Suez. The 6 countries bordering the Red Sea proper are: Eastern Shore, Saudi Arabia; Yemen; Western Shore, Egypt; Sudan; Eritrea; Djibouti. The Gulf of Suez is entirely bordered by Egypt. The Gulf of Aqaba borders Egypt, Israel, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia. In addition to the standard geographical definition of the 6 countries bordering the Red Sea cited above, areas such as Somalia are sometimes also described as Red Sea territories. This is primarily due to their proximity to and geological similarities with the nations facing the Red Sea and/or political ties with said areas. Towns and cities. Towns and cities on the Red Sea coast, including the coasts of the Gulfs of Aqaba and Suez, include Al-Hudaydah, Yemen; Al-Lith, Saudi Arabia; Al-Khanfouda, Saudi Arabia; Al-Qusayr, Egypt; Al-Waj, Saudi Arabia; Aqaba, Jordan; Aseb, Eritrea; Dahab, Egypt; Duba, Saudi Arabia; Eilat, Israel; El Gouna, Egypt; El Suez, Egypt; Halaibi, Egypt and Sudan, disputed; Hakl, Saudi Arabia; Hurghada, Eritrea; Hurghada, Egypt; Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Jazan, Saudi Arabia. Marsa Alam, Egypt. Massawa, Eritrea, Mocha, Yemen. Malhal, Djibouti. Nuweiba, Egypt. Port Safaga, Egypt. Port Sudan, Sudan. Rabai, Saudi Arabia. Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. Soma Bay, Egypt. Swakan, Sudan. Taba, Egypt. Thul, Saudi Arabia. Yanbu, Saudi Arabia. My name is Arya. Please like, share, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to be notified whenever we post. You won't regret it.